Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking not at a movie star, but at a movie maker. This is the Rolex Deepsea D-Blue, unofficially the tribute to James Cameron and his Deep-Sea Challenger submarine. Now, you may remember back in 2013, Cameron descended to the Challenger Deep in his own personal submersible. Pretty impressive to own a submarine, but it's arguably more impressive to get your own Rolex. If you think about it, all of the so-called celebrity Rolexes, Steve McQueen Explorers, Paul Newman Daytonas, they're not really named after these people. They're not really built as tributes to these people. Rolex didn't individually recognize them. Those are those are connoisseur nicknames that have been created. Whereas the Deepsea D-Blue truly was expressly made for James Cameron and his Deep Sea Challenge film that came out this year. So that's kind of singular. It's a first in Rolex history. Even the greats of all time, even sponsored Rolex superstars like Roger Federer or Donald Campbell back in the day, never got their own signature Rolexes. So Rolex collectors, are you listening? This is a first in Rolex history. But more than that, it's a cool watch. It's got everything that makes the original Rolex Sea-Dweller Deepsea attractive and cool and special, but it also adds this unique dial, and I'm going to get right to this because this is what sets it apart from the standard Deepsea. It has this gradient dial that's designed to recall the descent from the surface into the abyss of Cameron's submarine, and then there's just a little splash of electric green that captures the color of the original Deep-Sea Challenger submersible that Cameron used. So now this watch also contains everything that's special about the Deep-Sea. If you remember the hype leading up to the release of this watch, a lot of people were wondering what it was going to be. Was it going to be blue ceramic? Was it going to be a PVD or a DLC or a blue ceramic Sea-Dweller? Well, I'm kind of happy to say that Rolex didn't do any of that. They kept what made the original super special. Principally, a depth rating of almost 13,000 feet. This watch can descend to 12,800 feet, which, while completely unnecessary and superfluous, is arguably the definition of luxury in that it's more than you expect as well as more than you need. It's like having a Ferrari, more performance than you'll ever require in the real world. That's luxury. Beyond that, you've got fascinating technology at play. This is the most, although it's not mechanically the most complex Rolex, it is the most technologically advanced. Now, because of that extraordinary 12,800 foot dive rating, Rolex had to develop an entirely new case. The watch has a monstrous ring lock case that's built like a sandwich of 904L stainless steel and milled titanium, capped off by a 5mm thick sapphire crystal. That is the thickest sapphire crystal ever used on a production Rolex dive watch. Ever present is the traditional Rolex Sea-Dweller helium release valve. For those who really will use this watch in extreme deep sea diving, you're going to want that. So if you've got this watch and you've got a matching diving bell, you're good to go. Although you may never need the helium release valve, it's a fantastic conversation piece, and as with the extraordinary depth rating, it adds value, it adds technology, and it adds content to a watch that's dripping with it. Great conversation piece or conversation starter, just like this phenomenally thick sapphire crystal. Absent the Cyclops eye, it actually regains some of the elegance that it loses as it grows in size over the original Sea-Dweller, the 40mm, because it has a clean dial that you won't see on a Submariner. So if you're comparing this one for one against the other famous Rolex dive watch, the Submariner, you'll notice that much better use is made of the dial real estate, omitting the Cyclops eye. Now, while all Sea-Dwellers have omitted the Cyclops eye, I feel that having this big chunky aesthetic with symmetry makes it look almost like a little Greek temple on your wrist. It's got the mass and the presence that a traditional Sea-Dweller and a sub don't have, and I really feel that because it maintains all of those classical Rolex design cues, it's maybe a little bit more enduring and a better long-term companion, even with the slightly whimsical dial. I think it's a better long-term investment than some of the contemporary oversized watches that we're seeing on the market right now. As a sports watch, it's got the Rolex DNA that's going to carry it far. Now, that huge case features Rolex's signature in-house milled, in-house steel case. Rolex has its own foundry, makes its own grade of high quality stainless steel 904L, takes and holds a polish better than the industry standard 316. So what that means to you is, in addition to being incredibly stout under pressure, this watch is going to look good far into the future. The brushed finish that you see on the case, on the tops of the lugs, on the tops of the bracelet, that's going to hold. Likewise, the polish on the side, that's going to be enduring. And with a ceramic bezel, as all Rolex Deepseas have had since its 2008 debut, it's going to resist scratches. Between that bomber sapphire crystal and the ceramic bezel, as well as the highest grade of steel built by Rolex to its own standards, this is a watch that's going to look good for years to come without any need for refinishing. The bracelet is as solid as the watch itself. Subtle contrast here with polish on the flanks of the links, brushing on the side, and the incredible Rolex Oyster Lock safety clasp with the glide lock extension. Now I'm going to show you what the glide lock extension does for you. Pops out like a little buzzsaw right there. Allows you to actually, assuming you actually pop it out, allows you to move the watch in 2mm increments up to 20 millimeters. So if your wrist swells during exercise, if you gain or lose a little bit of weight, if you want to give the watch as a gift, it takes the trip to the jeweler's out, it takes the guessing out, and it allows far more accurate sizing than removing or adding full links or half links. And when this bracelet closes, you know, it closes with the thunk of a traditional submersible door. This thing feels like a submarine in the hand. Very solid, very handsome, and available with all original boxes and papers. This is one of the it watches of 2014. Easily the coolest Sea-Dweller reference we've ever had in-house, in my eyes, and that includes vintage. The Rolex Sea-Dweller Deepsea D-Blue is one of the watches of the moment. Built like a tank, built to last. I guarantee you that it'll be around for this moment, the next, and many years to come as one of the neatest, most unique, and most collectible Rolex references available. Check it out in high-res photography on our website, watchyouwant.com, and I'm confident that if you're into big dive watches and collectible Rolex, this will be the watch you want.